Today, I'm kind of here to talk about what IWAC is, just briefly, and what some of our projects are and what we're looking at for regional conservation efforts. So IWAC was formed as an Idaho nonprofit organization, developed out of the Rafton Prairie Comprehensive Aquifer Management Plan that was put together through North Idaho. We dedicated some funding to the organization. IWAC itself was formed in 2013, and we worked to identify a collaborative need between Idaho and Washington water users over the SVRP. Our purpose was to promote bi-state protection over the sole source aquifer, and we preferred to do that through education since we're not a regulatory agency and did not desire to be so. We are currently about 19 members strong and expanding slowly on that. We have board members from both Idaho and Washington, so we have a balanced initiative. Today, we're kind of targeting the efficient irrigation and landscape design standards. This is one of our latest projects. We've worked on other projects to protect source water through stormwater protection, water quality preservation, and other projects through videos that we put together for education of the public as well as our elected and appointed officials. The irrigation landscape design standards are kind of targeted towards water purveyors as well as landscape designers and installers. And the objective is to improve the efficiencies that will help conserve water throughout the region. There are some potential costs associated with it, but we also have established an overall voluntary reduction goal that we'll talk about in a little bit. Come on. So what's the problem? Well, I don't know if most of you realize it, but most irrigation systems are only about 30 to 40% efficient. So we're wasting, 60 to 70% of the water that you're putting on your lawn. So we need to talk about improving those efficiencies and what maybe there might be for landscape alternatives to reduce the consumption of that water. So IWAC has established a goal to reduce consumption over the SVRP. Recently, we've mailed out about 400 of these guides that we have put together to public utilities, elected and appointed officials, city councils, boards, regional planning groups, and landscape designers if we can find them. A letter was also included suggesting an initial goal for a region-wide 30% reduction in peak use over the SVRP. Of course, everybody says we have plenty of water. Why do we need to worry about this now? Well, California, Arizona, and Florida back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s also said the same exact thing. Look at where they're at today. They have mandatory conservation efforts going on. Here in our region, the water rates are very inexpensive, so there's not really any incentive to conserve. The incentive is going to have to be what we need to do in the future. As you all know, growth is inevitable, and you've all heard the news today about cities wanting to prevent growth or regulate growth, but it's going to result in increased demand. If we provide efforts to significantly reduce now, this will ensure adequate supplies for foreseeable future and their future generations. I found this graph while I was putting this together. It's projected growth across the SVRP from 2010 to 2040. And the red and maroon are consumptive uses now and what they're expected to grow to. And then the blue and the dark blue is non-consumptive use, which is mainly irrigation or recreation. Look at the difference. Well over double is expected to happen in the next few years. What if we could double irrigation system efficiencies from 30 to 40 to say 60 to 70%? We could cut our water use by a third. And just to kind of put an example to this, City of Coeur d'Alene in the last few years, we pumped just a little over 4 billion gallons a year for the entire city. I took and put this together over one season, what it could serve just in Spokane County. You could provide water to the city of Coeur d'Alene for 3.5 years. just in one season of conservation over in Spokane County. Imagine what we could do over the Spokane or over the SVRP. There'd be an enormous amount of water savings. Is it really realistic? Well, City's Parks Department is our single biggest consumer for irrigation in the city of Coeur d'Alene. I put a challenge to them to reduce their usage to achieve a better user rate. Just through improved management practices, which included the addition of moisture sensors, some smart controllers, and better management of their system, not really even updating the heads or anything. In the 2018 and 19 season, they achieved a 33% reduction goal. I was amazed. And the park still looked great. You can update to efficient irrigation systems, and this can be done by utilizing heads that use less water and water more efficiently, such as MP rotators, which have many of the manufacturers now put out. They put out a larger droplet size, which is less prone to wind and evaporation, and also need to adjust pressures. Too much pressure is just as bad as too little pressure, so that's something to be looking at. Drip irrigation systems, whether surface or subsurface, are highly efficient, anywhere from 80 to 95% efficient. So there's an alternative. However, they're only utilized just for small areas. Xeriscaping is another landscape design system utilizing low water use plantings and other types of design that reduce water consumption to very little or if any at all. There are classes put on through many of the local colleges to help put together this type of training. You consider natural landscape methods utilizing local drought tolerant plantings. I wanted to showcase a couple of things some of our neighbors are doing. City of Spokane has put together a program they call Spokanescape, where they offer rebates for removed turf and putting in drought tolerant plantings, xeriscaping, and efficient irrigation systems. They're currently offering about 50 cents per square foot converted space up to about a $500 rebate. They are seeing some very good turnaround on this program, and people are picking up on it. Here's one of the homes that's featured on their brochure. To me, that's a very beautiful yard, and it's a little bit out of the ordinary instead of just seeing all the grass. Moscow Pullman, they're having issues with mining of their aquifer. So they've put together collaboratively a Wisescape program where they both offer incentives to customers to remove turf and put in low water use and drought tolerant plantings. Here's a picture of the water department. The previous lawn on the left side of that picture was what was originally there, and they redid it with drought tolerant plantings, made a very attractive landscape there, reduced their consumption by about 70%. Here's a yard, the customer's yard, where they had some turf that they were having difficulty keeping green. They transformed that into some smaller grass areas that were easier to irrigate, some rockscapes, and notice the rainwater barrel there. They saw about a 9,300 gallon savings across the season. Just wanted to highlight a few of the things that Coeur d'Alene is doing. We have a new Atlas Millsite Park where the Parks Department is experimenting with white clover, low water use, low maintenance landscaping. The street department just recently did a swale for US 95 irrigated surfaces and took about 210 acres off a 217 acre outfall to the river. They're getting ready to redo a Ramsey Road swale, put in micro clover there and subsurface irrigation system that will reduce water consumption there. At the water department office, we put in MP rotators to show an example of how much we could save throughout the system. And we're also looking at planning and zoning changes and initiatives to reduce the necessity for green space, or at least add some xeriscaping. Here's an example of the drainage swale that the street department just recently put in. That'll take quite a bit of the load off of the river. Planning and zoning requirements, they require 10% managed open space, which is typically green space. excuse me, but unfortunately, grass is the least expensive to install. Takes a little bit more maintenance, more irrigation and fertilization. So we're looking at ways to make an attractive landscape, but reduce that water consumption. The Inner Northwest is a diverse and beautiful area. We have our unique climates and microclimates, and we need to design our landscape to fold in with what we look at and the beautiful river that we live near.